question is for Olga Oleinikova. I was born and grew up in Russia, and I feel horrible about what my country has birth is committing in Ukraine, and I stand with people of Ukraine in this war. How do you think the President Zelensky will handle the upcoming the election that is supposed to be held this year but could not be because of the martial law? It seems that the war could last for many more months, and how will it impact the democracy in Ukraine?
Yes, Alexis, thank you so much, first of all, for your support for Ukraine. Yeah, Ukraine has been in this full-scale invasion for the last 2 years, right? And actually, we've been in a war since 2014, right? So for us, for whole Ukraine, it's a long process, it's not just 2 years, right? When you talk about Zelensky, Zelensky came to power in 2019, right? So he came just before the war, then the war started under his presidency, and what is happening now, this should have been an elections, right? Scheduled for March 2024, so next month. He gave a press conference, I think, in November when he said that, they had internal discussions and they all think that it's not good time for having elections. First of all, under martial law, you can't have elections. Second thing, he spoke in interviews about that even if the elections will be held, he's certain that he will be elected again. Again, Zelensky had a lot of support and has a lot of support still, but he has some challenges as well, right, on the way, and we should be open about that. He's done tremendous things for Ukraine to gain, Ukraine's attention, put us, he helped us because I'm Ukrainian, right? I live here in Australia for the last 10 years, but I still, when I speak about Ukraine, I say myself because I still have family there. He did a lot to win the media war. I think Ukraine fantastically won it, even in first year. But what's happening on the ground, it's, we all can feel that in the last 6 months, there was not so many gains from, both sides. And how long it will last, how long, Ukraine will pay this price, that's the big thing. So, yes, elections are off for now, and there is a united front on this, but we'll see, we'll keep watching what's happening, right? And, technically, under the Constitution... Sorry.
No, Peter, if I can bring you in. I mean, at times of war, is this what happens? Freedoms are curtailed?
Well, being British, we talk about the Second World War a lot. I mean, remember Churchill got booted out of office just after Germany being defeated in Europe. So politics is highly unpredictable, as all of you know. I think that the biggest challenge is how the fact that Ukraine wants to postpone elections for very obvious reasons, in terms of how do you actually conduct it if you have men and servicewomen on front lines, how and where do they vote and in what kind of format. The worry is that gets exploited by misinformation, by agitation, and particularly in Congress in the United States, where the worry is that those kind of noises about democracy being pushed into something different, martial law, can be very easily exploited in the election cycle that's coming up in November. And of course, will be music to ears in Moscow and perhaps beyond too. So I think it's very uncertain. I don't, it's up to the Ukrainian people to decide how to run their own choices of leaders. But we'll see how that logjam gets pushed out.
How much support do you think Zelensky still has on the ground?
I'd probably ask Olga to have an opinion rather than...
Olga, do you think he's still...
Look, he's a leader, right? People united around the one single aim to win the war, right? He is leading the nation to win the war. Yes, there are hiccups, there are challenges, definitely. Imagine us, I don't know.
Well, he got rid of his military chief, for instance.
Yes, that's right.
More popular than him.
That's right. Yeah, again, there's conversations about that, right? And there is possibly Arestovich, another guy who was very popular in the beginning of war, who is now somewhere in the US probably, and delivering completely different narrative. I think he's as well potentially another candidate. Again, yes, there are some tensions in the Ukrainian government, but I think everything goes secondary after the main goal to win the war and to return the territorial integrity to the 1991 territorial, how Ukraine looked before. At its independence before 2014.
Malcolm Turnbull, if you look at what's happening in the United States, obviously, where this has become such a polarised, partisan issue, is the West's support for Ukraine wavering, and what are the dangers of that?
Well, the danger is that Putin will get what he wants. Putin is a ruthless dictator who has invaded Ukraine, and he is seeking to demonstrate that might is right. That's what he's seeking to do. He's trampling on a democracy It's an illegal, criminal, brutal invasion. The Ukrainian people have inspired the world with their courage, and the leadership of their president, Zelensky, has been an inspiration to all of us, as it has been to Ukrainians. Without the support of the West, they will struggle to defend themselves. Regrettably, the Republican Party under Donald Trump, and particularly the right wing of the Republican Party, are very sympathetic to Vladimir Putin. I mean, I've been with Trump and Putin. Trump is in awe of Putin. He's, when you see Trump with Putin, as I have on a few occasions, he's like the 12-year-old boy that goes to high school and meets the captain of the football team. My hero. It is really creepy. It's really creepy. Now,
And that struck you at the time?
Oh, absolutely. It struck everybody. It was like you could touch it. It was creepy. The creepiness was palpable.
Are you trying to say they're having a bromance?
No, I'm not saying. I'm just telling you what I saw. And you saw that in that press conference they did I think in Helsinki. You saw a similar thing. Now, the sad thing is that you've got the right wing of the Republican Party. You saw this with Tucker Carlson doing that sycophantic kind of non-interview with
Putin,
Vladimir Putin. I mean, it is
a half-an-hour history lesson.
It is terrifying, and there is the scary thing is that for countries like Australia and many European countries, we may find ourselves. Are we going to find ourselves not dealing just with two autocracies in Russia and China, but what is Trump's America going to look like? This is a guy leading a party that is no longer committed to democracy as we understand it.
That's it. Look, I may know that there are questions around Trump, but I have to pick you up on that because that's quite a statement. You think that America is genuinely sliding into becoming a country that's an autocracy that's no longer a democracy?
Well, if by democracy you mean a country that's governed by the rule of law, yeah, for sure. I mean, Donald Trump does not believe the law applies to him. Donald Trump lost the 2020 election and refused to accept it, and sooled a mob, encouraged a mob to try to overthrow the constitutional process in the Congress, tried to overthrow his own constitution. I mean,
and yet he's outpolling Biden at the moment. And so
precisely,
there is a contradiction here, right? If you look at the democracy in itself, people are expressing that look, they're interested in him.
Tyrants are often popular. You see, the key to democracy, liberal democracy, is that it empowers the majority, but it also, through the rule of law, constrains the majority. And if you get to the point where anybody who can muster a majority, and I don't think Trump can do that, by the way, but anyone who can muster a majority is given absolute power and then can do whatever they like to the minority, that's not a democracy. That is a tyranny. That is an autocracy, even if it's got the support of 51% of the population. That is not what makes a democracy. A democracy, as we understand it, is one where the rule of law protects all citizens and the rule of law applies to all citizens, whether they're the president or the prime minister or an ordinary, elector.